emniyetiniz için, oturduğunuz müddet için kemerlerinize bağlı bulundurunuz. Teşekkür ederiz. Ladies and gentlemen, for your own safety, please keep your seatbelt fastened while you are seated. Thank you.
Ich bin unterwegs in einer Melange aus Jetlag und Alkohol, in einem Bus mit 100 Sachen. Mit meiner unsichtbaren Eismaschine, mit meinem unsichtbaren offenen Kamin. Sie sitzt neben mir im Flugzeug und später schlafen wir in meinem Hotel-King-Size-Bett. Von A nach B, von A nach B, von A nach B, der liebe Weg, von A nach B, von A nach B, von A nach B, der liebe Weg, von A nach B, von A nach B, von A nach B, der liebe Weg, von A nach B, von A nach B, von A nach B, der liebe Weg, der liebe Weg, der liebe Weg, der liebe Weg, der liebe Fahrstuhl, Taxi, Gepäckwagen, Laufband, Laufband, Rolltreppe, Bus, Flugzeug, Bus, Elevator, Escalator, Escalator, Luggage cart, Taxi, Elevator. Verpflegung, Mobilität, Verpflegung, Mobilität, Verpflegung, Mobilität.
Well, we had a record contract with Rough Trade Germany for some territories in the world. And the last record that we did for Rough Trade was Silence is Sexy. Mm-hmm. That was released in 2000. After that, we basically have fulfilled our contractual obligations. It means we had no immediate record contract anymore, no more duty to make any more records. Mm-hmm. So after the tour that followed that record, we basically rested. We all did various things, but we did not know if we're going to make another record. We did not know if we're ever going to go on tour again or what will actually happen to the Einstürzende Neubauten.
Mm-hmm. Somebody who really cares for his music, yes, he at some point will also care for all the matters which have to do with his music, like publishing or even his publishing or releasing his own records.
So it was after that the idea of a woman called Erin Sue, a Californian woman that presented us, and us meant in that case the Neubauten. She presented to us the idea and how we could possibly utilize the internet in producing the next Neubauten record.
It was obvious that the whole record company experience by the end of the 90s was breaking down on many fronts, and internet and the related technologies was a significant factor in showing what alternate possibilities were available.
The idea was a kind of a subscription model, in opposite to what other people probably tried before, not a membership model, but a subscription model. It's something like you would do in a book publishing business too. You do a Luxus edition of the works of Marquis de Sade, and you say it's going to be out in 2005, and if you buy it now, it's going to be much cheaper. Then that type, that is kind of the idea behind that. So we offered a record that is not going to appear in the shops. It's going to be only available to those to subscribe to the site.
Okay.
For a one-time fee. And with that one-time fee, we were going out to actually record the record.
On the supporter section, which is only available for people who sign up, the most popular things are the communication tools. There's the forum, which actually has a public component also, and a supporter-only section. And there is also a chat room, which is not really divided between public and supporters. For the supporters, there is also an email account at neubauten.org, which they can access by webmail or using it. Other than that, there's archives of all the webcasts for the current phase of the website, so that you can follow the development of the music that they're working on.
In the beginning, when we started that, we did not really know if that is going to work out, or how much we actually appreciate it or dislike the idea of working under so-called surveillance. How much we actually like, I definitely avoid the term interactivity. It has nothing to do with that. But how much we actually like the feedback, the way that people are getting involved in it, we did not know in the beginning. So we kept the whole model fairly open and developed it as a dynamic process, changing as we were going along, making it more clear and making it more defined. Now that we are in phase 2, it is much more clearly actually how we are doing it and what we are doing there. But in phase 1, we first of all had to find the ways of doing that.
I had no specific idea of how to go about it. I just thought that the whole possibility, the internet as a possibility, as a way of actually directly getting to the people involved that actually care about the band, that was the direction to go. And as far as what specifically got built as the website and so forth, that was really a lot of practical compromises.
Especially after we noticed that the whole economic, because it could have been going completely wrong too. But once we noticed that the economical side of this will work out for us, that basically meant once we had more than 1,000 subscribers, subscriptions.
All around the world?
Oh yeah, very, very much so. Very much all around the world.
Being a supporter is all about being active, and being a fan is more passive. But you can be a supporter and not play an active role in the forums and in the chat and so forth, but still you have contributed money. You have done something more active than just buying a record, because then you give the money to the record company, and that's not very interesting for me, because when I first found neubauten.org and I discovered I can actually give Neubauten my money directly without any middleman, I thought that this is great. I can pay them to give me a record, just like that, and I can also pay them to encourage them and actually force them to make new records, which is great because I need their records.
Just hearing that we were taken seriously is nice, because it's not just a fan club,
I think the project is interesting for people of all ages. If you just look at the supporter fan base on the website, I mean, you have people who just discovered Neubauten here and they're only 18 years old, and you also have people who discovered Neubauten from the very first show that they played. And you get a whole range of people in between that have common interests, and somebody who's 18 can talk to somebody who's 45 and still be able to talk on the same level and understand where the other one's coming from.
Peter Fredrik Artursson from Reykjavik.
I'm from Sydney, Australia.
My name is Caroline.
Right now I'm a graduate student. My background is environmental science and forestry. I'm pretty much from Texas, mostly live in Kentucky now.
Colin Chang.
It's April Petrus.
My name is Sophie. My name is Laila, and we are from Munich, Germany.
Vidar Sunstad. I'm 40 years old. I'm a freelance writer. I'm Norwegian.
Ken. I'm originally from Japan, and then I moved to Canada when I was 4.
I'm from San Francisco, but I'm living in Seattle.
My name is Isabella.
Tito Franz. I'm 32. I'm from Karlsruhe. And my profession, I'm running a company who does biomedical engineering.
I'm originally from Lisbon, but I live in New York.
My name is Josh.
My name is Adelia. I'm from Arlington, Virginia. I work at Riggs Tattoos, and I am 33 years old.
My name is Christina, and I'm on the supporters side. I go by Strixia.
My name is Stefan Jordan. I'm a systems engineer, which is kind of an IT consultant, and I'm from Bonn.
And my supporter name is Nymphia.
Patrik Larsson. I'm currently working as a speech pathologist. I live in Malmö, Sweden, and I'm 34 years old.
My name is Sand. I come from Israel.
My name is Maria. I am living here in Moscow.
Pasha. I am from Kiev. Original.
I'm Nizi. I'm 33 years old. My profession is computer science, and I'm from Izmir, Aegean side of Turkey.
My name is Matthew Gottingham, and my supporter name is Matthew.
My name is Zuzana. I'll be 28 next month, and I'm from Slovakia, but now I live in Czech Republic, and I work in a bank as a phone operator.
Marcel, and my name on the website is Sighetov.
Originally from, I'm from Austin.
I'm from Haarlem.
My name is Abby Zane, and I am known as Kiss the Culprit.
My name is Jen Runny.
I'm from Boston, Massachusetts.
From New York originally, born in the Bronx, moved around a bit, now I'm back and I live in Queens.
My name is John, I'm 20, I'm from Dublin, and I'm a student here studying science.
My name is Martin Svalastog.
I'm Nemo from neubauten.org.
My name is Norman Ranger.
My name is Smita. I'm 33 years old. I come from Slovenia, and my profession is economist.
I am from Norway, but I'm staying in Rome now for 2 months.
It actually gave the band an incredible momentum, in a sense of that we were able to make a record in a record amount of time, because usually we need a year to 2 years or 2.5 years to actually finish a record. And in that case we were working, because we were offering broadcasts every month. We were working on a constant level. Every month we would at least come together and play for a couple of days, and we would continuously develop the material. Somewhere in the middle of that process we were so happy with ourselves that we decided that we want to go on tour again.
Unsichtbaren Ausgegangen sind mein unsichtbares Herd von Stagnau. Sie sitzt neben mir im Flugzeug und später trinken wir zusammen in Minibar. Manchmal fahren sie über Nacht im Hotels Deutsch oder fahren overnight mit dem Technikkräfte der Crew. Mein unsichtbares Haus mit Garten und mein unsichtbarer Herd von Stagnau. Von A nach B, von A nach B, von A nach B, der liebe Weg von A nach B, von A nach B, von A nach B, der liebe Weg von A nach B, von A nach B, von A nach B, der liebe Weg von A nach B, von A nach B, von A nach B, der liebe Weg, der liebe Weg, der liebe Weg, der liebe Weg, der liebe Weg.
Andrew, he's the personification of the phrase as a what's it called in English? The destructive character is young and merry. Not young anymore, but merry.
I'm not setting fire to stages anymore, to any walls or on the stage, and special containers or whatever.
Why not?
Because people, I mean, I get fed up with it. I mean, first of all, it's quite dangerous, and I did it kind of 20, 30 times, and we had a kind of intense moment, and it fitted to one song, especially the Scorch Off song, and people were expecting it from you to break things or to damage things. I mean, and to fulfill their kind of wishes, you make yourself very stupid, and that's why I stopped it.
Andrew's role in that band is very important. He's the soul of Neubauten. It's not necessarily what he does, it's just like him being there is crucial part for Neubauten. He has the anarchy still within, and you never know what he's coming up with. It's unpredictable, and Neubauten without Andrew wouldn't be possible.
Alex, rock and roll. He's very rock and roll. I saw him walking down the street earlier, and it was rock and roll.
Alex, to me, seems to incorporate some type of like wild card, like this chaos or unexpected something.
He does so many different things in the band, though, with bass playing. I think originally he was playing guitar and doing some percussion. He, and of course, has been there since the very beginning.
Well, the truth is that, like the, amount of research we've done over the years, like other people, decorate themselves with doctor titles, for, even less work.
Jochen is the guitarist, and he has a really specific flavor, I think, of his own. He brings this kind of melancholy, light, kind of raises it out of Andrew's deep industrial ashes and brings it a little bit above to a more ethereal feel to it.
Jochen also does a pretty good job in playing guitar without playing guitar, basically. It's just not an easy task.
You can't play with these guys in a traditional way. So I do other stuff where I just play traditional guitar, like chords, normal tunings. With Neubauten, that's not working at all. So from the beginning on, it's a totally different approach towards playing guitar, which is like fits me very well, because I actually come from this. I started like this, not playing chords, not just making noise and stuff. So that suits me very well, and it gives me lots of freedom to create new sounds, which is great for me. That's what I love. I love what I can do there.
Rudy does kind of the main drums.
Is just set behind that huge bass, those huge drum set. I guess you could call it a drum set.
Well, Rudy is a fantastic drummer. Full stop.
On Neubauten I use instruments, most of them are self-invented, like the plastic tubes, some pieces like meal, or I use a metal sheet instead of a snare drum.
My name is Ashwin Slade.
And in the group, I am responsible for samples and electronics, and sometimes keyboards. This time round, I was in Australia prior to the beginning of rehearsals in Berlin, and basically Boris, the sound engineer and producer, sent me over CDs containing many audio files, which were then converted into samples, which were then converted into living, breathing, live performance instruments.
And Blixabagel is, of course, he's like, well, he has to be from outer space because he's just like such a personality. His stage persona is just incredible.
I think also, it seems to me like Blixa's attitude musically over the years has evolved more. I think there's a tension between having an exact structure and then letting something go chaotically.
It's the direction or force of whatever a certain concept is going to be. We're going to be working on this concept, trying to have all the music relate to that. Is every piece of the music and my lyrics projecting the image I want to project, or is anything contradictory? That's good art. Okay. Plus, I think his personality is probably what attracts him and holds the attention of both the band members and the band.
Nice to be back here again. Deja vu. 1997.
Definitely was different going on tour this time, because on all the tours before, like, our fans were just this group of people that we don't really know anything about, and sometimes we would meet a couple of them after the show, you know, mostly like in a drunken state, or them being really shy and embarrassed about being there. And this time was kind of different, you know, because some of them, you know, like I had talked to before, and when we then finally met, you know, we could pick up certain conversations that we had on the phone.
It was very funny to meet all the people after the show, which were watching us by working the thing and seeing growing the whole project. And for me it was very interesting to see, because during we worked on the Perpetuum mobile album, I knew that there are people watching and are involved with us, but I didn't know how they look like.
I ended up coming on the Neubauten tour through just chatting online to the webmaster, because I spent a lot of time in chat. And I heard, she's like, oh, I need someone to come on tour and help with the merchandising. And I said, well, I'd love to do that because I'm just traveling around at the moment anyway. And then the next thing, she thought about it and wrote me an email saying, I would rather you did something more, because we want to make sure the supporters, you know, get treated really well on the tour and get these little extra bonuses. And so I ended up I said, oh, okay, I'll do that.
I mean, the supporter thing, when they come up after the show, I mean, it's more than only being fans, because you know they have some knowledge because they looked at you in before, they know you from the screening, and I always find out what kind of professions they are, and if they could make something out of the lyrics at all, if they get something out of the music from the groove or whatever. Most of the times they don't understand the German lyrics, but this thing has changed. It's more direct as well, and why not give also the fans a function, and don't let them feel stupid, and as they are just the consumers. And I mean, some of the supporters were giving really valuable hints, ideas.
I have been online since 1985. Statistically, that makes me between one of the first 110 and one of the first 120,000 people online. So yeah, I'm pretty plugged into what's going on out there.
When I met people who I just chatted to a little bit or just knew from the forum, it was strange to me that they actually did seem a lot like they were online.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everyone. Bonjour, monsieur. Bonjour, madame. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everyone.
The ironic thing about the internet and internet communities is they're so homogenous once you get into them. They're so self-selecting. Because you have to think about the amount of effort you have to do to find a specific group online, and then to commit to going into chat and going into online pre-scheduled group meetings. It's a very self-selecting group. It self-selects for intensity of interest in the subject.
It's interesting to meet the different people, and I've met people from all around the world, which is I never had the chance to meet otherwise.
I originally signed up for the website specifically for the music. That was my main importance, but as time goes by and I can participate more on the website and post more topics and answers on the threads, you can't help but develop relationships with basically strangers. You don't even know their real name or their face or anything. You just know where they're from, basically. But beyond that, it's a really positive experience to converse with all these different people from different parts of the world, where the only common thread that binds us together is the band.
I can't hear very well. I have hearing aids, but usually my communication in public is not very good, never. Whether the phone is very bad, but with internet, I chat.
One supporter sent me her voice to try to put music to it, you know, over the internet and things like that. And I talked to another guy that wants to do the same thing, wants to bat music back and forth.
Last year I was going to London, and I was met with some friends from Einstürzende Neubauten supporters. They came from train station, they came from me from train station, and it was a good friendship.
We were both in chat, actually. All through last spring, I pretty much lived in chat. I was one of those usual suspects that was always there, and he pops in one day, and we just started talking.
Yeah. She was the first person I met in chat. And I had just returned from Egypt. I had been living in Egypt, and I knew about the Neubauten org, but I just couldn't get myself couldn't get involved in Einstürzende Neubauten while I was living in Egypt. It was too weird for me. So I had to wait till I got back to Norway. And then I popped into the chat room and I met Shay.
Yeah, I was teasing him.
A few months later we were married.
Yeah.
What the band themselves have been saying about this, how they have reacted, how they say that, for instance, that they come home from a party in the morning and then they think, should I go to bed? No, I'll just hop in the chat. Maybe that's what I think when I come home from a party at 3 in the morning and I'm still not tired, I'm a little, well, I think, okay, I'll go into the Neubauten chat and maybe there is someone there.
It is fun when you're in chat and you see user Blix that enters, and it's like, oh, knowing that there's that little chance that you could encounter one of the members of the band or watch the webcast. That's, I'm not going to deny that that's part of it.
Good morning everyone. Bonjour monsieur, bonjour madame. Konnichiwa Nihon. Good morning USA. Good morning everyone.
One day I'm in the Neubauten chat room, like, oh, no one ever turns up when I'm here because I had the time difference. And then Blixer came in the chat room. I was like, are you Blixer? He's like, yes, hello. Okay, this is really weird. I'm talking to the band member.
Please to neubauten.org. Please be invited to take part in what we're doing right now. We're gonna jump right back into what we started doing yesterday. I believe we started doing this yesterday. Probably some of you remember it from phase 1 as well. In the beginning sessions of Floor Piece, we came up with some idea where the car tire actually played a role. And we're trying to actually start working at that idea and revive it and develop it to become something new.
The progression of the music is something that caught me. That's once I got to see the webcasts live. That was the point when I was 100% sure that I would subscribe to phase 2.
Also earlier done some psychoacoustic research. So the structure of the individual sound and how it interacts with other sounds in a context, that interests me a lot. And that to see how the band make the different noises, and it's very interesting, because then I know then the brain works that way and it fools itself like this. And
because we got to hear this album being created, it makes it very difficult to be objective about the end product. And sometimes you find yourself, maybe hearing little nuances in some of the webcasts, and you sort of, you kind of gravitate to those little elements, but they might not exist on the end product. But then there's so many new things on the end product.
To watch them create the music from scratch, I guess when it's done in hindsight, you can say, oh, yeah, even I can do that. But to come up with that idea and then figure out a direction to go is pretty daunting for someone who's not a musician and maybe someone who is a traditional musician.
Remind me of a Friends band now, nearly, because the distinction between fans and the band has become so blurred. So it's almost like listening to your friends practice every day and hearing how the song kind of changes over the weeks and months, and then going to see them at a gig and hearing how they finally play it.
Somebody playing saxophone down there? Stop it! I hate saxophone! New York's alright. You like saxophone?
A little bit of the mystique does get lost seeing them online, I think personally, because of course Neubauten has never been so in the headlines and you don't know anything about them personally. It was all through your imagination of the kind of music that they make.
I don't think they lose the mystique really, that they lose one kind of mystique, and then in a way they at the same time gain another kind of mystique, because they are one of the few bands probably that could pull off something like that.
Oh yeah, certainly.
And just let people come into the studio and watch them and listen to them and still come out at the other end of it with a product that sounds like a mysterious work of art.
project demystifies Neubauten that I just don't care. I don't think it's about mystification or. I mean, they will always be strangers. I feel like I know them a little bit more than I did before, but they are not. They are kind of cyber friends of mine.
For instance, tonight Rudy had that box full of like the styrofoam, like to make that kind of like really delicate sort of like crackly sound. I had no idea that was the cause of that little embellishment, but to see it live was like really astonishing.
I don't really think it is comparable to a reality show, because the reality show is less real actually, because it's edited and you just get to see the really nasty stuff. You just get to see all the conflicts and the crap, and they don't have any interaction with the people who are watching them, and there's nothing really interesting going on. There's lots of people fighting over silly things, so it's so boring to watch. It's just sort of indulgence in bad human behavior, and I think that's just awful. And I think it's done with such an amount of disdain for people, I think, because Neubauten.org is done with love of the music, and done with love of the band, love of the supporters and so forth. Reality shows are just done they're just trying to get an effect, just trying to be as scandalous as is humanly possible. So I don't think you can compare it, because this is not done with that in mind.
The reality TV and stuff like that, I think that's just a business. There's lots of money behind that. That's the point, I think, just to make money. And I think this is completely different.
We have a mediator, we have Webby, who's sort of on the other side of things. With reality TV, you're clearly just an audience, where in this case, we are also an audience to an extent, but we can reply to things that they say. We have a place to disagree and agree with some of the things that they write, if they do write. And they can read it if they want to. Whereas I think with reality TV, if you really wanted to write to The Bachelor, you'd have to write to NBC or something, and who knows if they would get it. But I think here, you feel certain that it's there for them to see very easily.
Good morning, everyone. Bonjour, madame.
The whole supporter thing, as far as the making of the album, the recording in the studio, had a big influence. In fact, it was only possible because of the supporter thing. That made the band start again, and it was something new, which was very interesting for them. So that's why they kept going, really. And the trick about that is, of course, the supporter pay for it, so we have to deliver something, so we have to work, and we can't just come 4 hours late into the recording room, drink 10 beers and have a little chat and do nothing. So we were forced to actually produce something and to create something, which was very good.
The supporter project was kind of rushing everything. It was kind of quick decisions to be made as we perform in the rehearsal room, 1 to 2 hours for video screening and broadcasting. Decisions have to be made very quick, so I was really pleased that Blixa had a lot of lyrics to come across, and it was kind of easy to produce that Perpetuum mobile.
It sure has changed a lot, and I think I like the way it has changed. I still am very fascinated by the early stuff, obviously, because of the well, not the aggression, but there is some energy in it. And these days this energy, I feel it's still there, but it's kind of developed or being refined.
For sure, the openness to explore sounds, to find new sounds wherever they go and in whatever field it is. So this is from the very beginning until today the unique thing about Neubauten, and that's what I like most, because it keeps changing all the time and keeps progressing.
Their music got more sophisticated, I think. It's like the songwriting, they have much more structure now in their songs, which isn't bad. You could think it's bad, like doing a standard pop song, but it's more interesting now.
I wouldn't say they completely changed. They are still Einstürzende Neubauten, of course, but it's like with wine. The older it gets, it's better.
You know, not many rock stars age well. The fact that and I'm not just talking about their bodies, everybody's body ages. Most music doesn't age well. And the fact that they've managed to keep it fresh and, you know, keep you on your toes, and every album has sounded different than every other album. But it still sounds like Neubauten, only different. That's truly an amazing talent.
We don't know where it leads. That's very important to us, otherwise it gets boring. Always the same stuff, it's boring, we can't do that.
Die ganze Gegend liegt nicht auf meinem Weg. Ich komm her selten hier vorbei.
I thought Einstürzende Neubauten's music is a timeless music. Since the first days I thought they are making the music, but not for these days. It's maybe more understandable in the future.
Changed the world for me. I started listening to my radiator, I started listening to the fan in the subway, I started listening to music. It was like I started noticing sounds more, and the music to me seems just so coming out of nature. It's like a natural, somebody says like a river, that it's these multi-voiced compositions that flow along and are constantly changing and endlessly interesting. And I found I've really gotten intolerant of the standard progressions and the standard instruments. I mean, that's changed me. And now I'm very interested in noise genres, but I do really love the beauty and the respect that Einstürzende Neubauten has for finding the authentic voice for each instrument.
Part of what makes Neubauten is the lyrics, and use of the lyrics as an integral part of most of the music.
against the past. If the future isn't bright, at least it's colorful.
I don't speak German. I don't understand the German songs of Einstürzende Neubauten. I read the translated lyrics from English and I translate them to the Turkish, and I'm thinking about that. And some words like not English, not German, like in the last album, I liked this Liza Sausan. There was a part called Da Mama Daka. It was in Hebrew. I was researched them. I was talk them with my friends and share them, my things, my thoughts with them. They say some things. Maybe they, if there are no, there's some things about that. It's a research thing for me, and finding a puzzle. It's like a puzzle.
So the lyrics are more important to me than to many others. And I do appreciate good lyrics because it's so rare. And there are very few people who, in that business, very few people who are able to, or willing, maybe even willing to take on the task of writing poetry on such a level and with that kind of dedication as Big Size do.
Ich werde heftig von unten an den Wurzeln reißen, bis die obere Welt sich regt.
I collect words, I collect language, I think it's great. And that's also why I like Neubauten, because there are lots of very interesting words and word plays and puns, which I'm a big fan of. Like in the garden, if you'll find me waiting for the apples to ripen, you'll find me waiting for them to fall, you'll find me waiting for the fall. It's beautiful when there's this little pun and this little connection and everything. So words have, what can I say? I am a word fetishist, a language fetishist, I love it.
And when he opens up, he's talking about how the song, you know, they've lost 2 of the verses due to an accident, and they got to be really careful or else they'll lose the last verse. And I thought, you know, I mean, I guess it was meant as a joke, but the idea that someone could think of a song like that, where, you know, it's like cutting off a limb. Once it's gone, you can't, you know, you can't replace it. I thought that was really hip, and that really stuck with me. It's a great way to think about a song. It's just so organic and just irreplaceable.
Einstürzende is a very significant word. Something crumbling down to be built up again. Sort of destroying things just because you have to build something new. Out of the things that aren't, you can get something. Nur was nicht ist, ist möglich. It's very essential, I think. It's all about transcendence from one place to another and one state of mind to another, and one train of thought to another. So.
A rumba is Neubauten, playing around with a certain sound, and then from there developing a song out of it. So they begin with, I think one of them is Ich Warte, and Alex playing this tune on the guitar, and from that the other band members feed off it. I think by the end I could easily say that those rampairs were developed into songs that you could just put on a CD.
Das aus irgendeiner Tür irgendwas wiederkommt, was ich vielleicht schon längst, lange schon vergessen habe, verdrängt, verloren. Ich warte. Eigentlich warte ich immer. Ich warte. Heute, morgen, ich war wegen 7 Morgenregen. Ich warte, lange schon. Ich warte eigentlich immer auf irgendetwas, das ich weiß es nicht. Die sich brach, liegt sich breit, macht mich an, reichers auf, stürzt, umstülpt, Niederriesenwagen, Teledose, mächtig durch die Wolken bricht, wie ein Kuss, wie eine Flamme zur rechten Zeit. Ich warte, aber eigentlich warte ich immer auf Musik. Ich warte auf die langen Konstellationen, auf den Sieg, auf Falschen und Nudeln, sie da von schießt alle Linken vorbei. Ich sage den Links an die Schalen in der Zahl. Ich warte, immer auf Musik.
I've been on the internet for about 10 years. I mean, since I first surfed the web. That was about 10 years ago. And this is the first, for me, this is one of the first things that really has taken advantage of the internet.
I already think the way that they've brought the community from just being online into real life, because after the tour, everyone knows each other. So the fact that they did that successfully is really amazing as well.
Now Neubauten show they can do it without a label, and I could do it, or Freiburg could do it for the other artists too without a label. The only thing missing then is the promotional and marketing activities, if the label does them at all. Many labels don't do that because they don't have money or ideas. So if the band itself has ideas, like Neubauten, yes, you can market yourself. You don't need any record company.
These companies are so big they can't react properly anymore. They are too fat, too big. If one man makes a decision, it takes years to follow this decision or bring it through. So they're way too lame to see what the market needs or what the new structures are, and they can't react anymore properly. That's why they all screaming and yelling.
I think the big change in the next 10 years is that the internet is going to stop being a separate thing somehow. That it's going to be so pervasive that people can, use it the way they use their television, their stereo, their mobile phone. It's going to be much, much easier for them to access internet content from the internet. It's going to be possibly transparent to them that they're even accessing the internet. It will just come in as another way of using their television, perhaps. Paying for things online, there's already mobile solutions for that, and ways of billing to telephone, utilities, whatever. So I think that both the transferring of content and access thereof and also paying for content is going to be much more integrated into the general fabric of how people live. And that will erase the barrier between those who have, who are online and technology savvy and so forth, from those who just want to, play some music. And once that is the case, and I do believe that will happen in the next 10 years, then the possibility for what we do, which is using the internet to get content out from those who create it to those who enjoy it, is going to be made much easier.
I would love for them to continue, build a broadcasting station, have these webcasts. I think it's a really interesting idea about a way of directly marketing their music.
Political statement I see in EN is not to do what you are told.
This project has made me more aware about all these politics behind the music, or these politics that happen behind the curtain that I just never really thought about.
They say, I grew up really liking, like Crass and Dead Kennedys and listening, they're obviously very political lyrics and things like that. But Neubauten sort of seems to project the same ideas, even though I don't understand what they're saying. They've taken what, Jelly Biafra or Steve Ignorant were saying, and then they just kind of did it, and, just make your own rules, and they certainly haven't gone with any sort of structured idea, or, any preconceived idea. They seem to be treading their own path, and that's exactly what all these bands that are, overtly political have been saying to do.
I think the supporter project is something that could go on for a relatively long period of time. I'm not sure if it could be a permanent thing, mainly because Neubauten themselves are so ever-changing and everything has a new phase each time they're reborn.
I think this is the future for a lot of bands. I would say it's interesting to follow this and see what happens still. It's still a kind of an experiment in a way for everybody, so we don't know where it leads us and how long can we keep going on this. Maybe we can for a long time, maybe not. We find out, which is fine. You never know.
It's like a kettle, it's boiling there, and then it lets out some steam. and I think that is what I like the most about Neubauten, and I think that is still there. It has not been lost at all, even though they have changed. And of course they are 20 years older. I mean, it would be. I think I really like the way they have changed, and the best part of it is that I think that this change will go on. I mean, it's so obvious that they haven't reached a final point.
Being able to not sort of stand still, always moving forward. It's a perpetuum mobile.
Was ich in deinen Träumen suche, ich suche nichts, ich räume auf. Was du dereinst links liegen ließest, ich staple es auf, es wird noch verwendet, ich räume es nur weg. Ganzen vergebenen Möglichkeiten, ich will's nicht mehr ihnen anfangen, auch sie räum ich weg. Was ich in deinen Träumen suche, ich suche nichts, ich räume nur auf. Kommen zum Vorschein die Ungetüme, lange verborgen, doch noch vorhanden. Unter den Schichten, Geschichten, Geschichte, auch sie sind nicht weg. Was ich in deinen Träumen suche, ich suche nichts, bis ich deine Träume im Dunklen leuchten sehe. Tenorsaxophon Jochen Arbeit. Baritonsaxophon Alexander Hacke. The Sandra of Australia, Ash Wednesday. The Albert Ayler of Industrial Music, Andrew Unruh. And we are very proud that we could actually exhume Dizzy Gillespie to play with us tonight, Rudolf Moser. Last but not least, Chet Atkins of Avant-Garde, Mr. Blitzer Bravo. Jedes Jahr zu Silvester, Musik für Luftbefeuchter und Geläster, die Flasche der Tournemont und Aspirin. Pilze, die sich finden lassen, Wechselstrom bewegt, Massen der große Regen. Oder das Regal, ein frisch bezogenes Bett, Fleckenteufel, der China zieht. Energieerhaltungssatz, Zungenkuss in schiefe Stunden. Alles, alles, alles wird neu erfunden. Alles, was irgendwie nützt. Alles, was ist, was war nicht genug, wird neu erfunden. Alles, was war als Erklärung für die Katz. Die ganze Welt ist Säure und Staub destilliert, gebrannt und ins Carpe diem. Denn Weltbrand von uns gierig konsumiert. Auf der Buse folgt der Kater, das ist Usus, aber als Erklärung für die Katz. Für mich und die Bekannten bleibt der Rausch ein Muss. Schüttelkuss, Energieerhaltungssatz, Zungenkuss in schiefer Stunden. Alles, was irgendwie nützt. Thanks. Good night.